Hello, and I welcome everybody to Expand Your Reality podcast show. I'm Rosemary Roberts, your intuitive Goody Moves mentor. Today, we're going to be diving into the powerful concept of synchronicity and how this can leverage or propel our business forward. I want us to welcome my very special guest, Vicky Etherington, the website mentor.
Thanks, Rosemary.
Vicky will share her journey called accidental entrepreneurship and how it worked out perfectly. Then we're going to go on a little bit further to explore the power of synchronicity and how it can elevate your entrepreneurship and your lifestyle. So, Vicky, give us a little glimpse of what you were before your entrepreneurship journey. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So thanks for having me, Rosemary. So before I became a an online business owner, I was just working a regular 9 to 5. Most of the time, I actually traveled around the world a lot, and just worked to earn enough money for my next stage of my journey. So throughout the early 2000s, I was traveling extensively throughout Southeast Asia mainly. I spent quite a lot of time in Australia. So I really wasn't career focused in any way, and the idea of entrepreneurship had never crossed my mind. So really, my parents had always worked a 9 to 5 job. My mum was a nurse. She worked incredibly hard. And as far as I was concerned, when I got back from my around the world adventures, I would just settle down with a job. So that was my life before things kind of just happened for me, I guess. I didn't have a particular plan. I definitely never intended to start up a business.
Wow, that's kind of like amazing, like, like, but I guess I want to say, when you was young, what was your dream? Like, let's say when we grow up, what do we want to do? Do you remember that at all?
Oh, Rosemary, I wanted to be a vet, like probably 80% of other kids around the world. I wanted to work with animals. I was really fortunate. I had a really adventurous childhood. So my father was a civil engineer, and so he traveled overseas a lot, and we all went with him because he was on long-term overseas assignments. So from a very early age, I lived in Northwest Africa. So we were based in Nigeria. That's where I went to school. When I was 9 years old, I got sent back to boarding school in the UK, which is young, but I loved it. And I don't ever look back on that as with any kind of sense of regret. I was really, really happy at school, and I was really happy to have had the opportunities that we had in Nigeria. My grandparents lived in South Africa, so we used to go and visit them a lot. So Africa became part of my existence, really, really from a very young age. And as you know, Rosemary, because you know my story, Africa is still a huge part of my life. And I think that probably stems from it just becoming very ingrained really early on that I had a huge love of the African culture.
Wow. So I'm going to be excited about how I'm going to connect the dots because, yes, I know a little bit about you. And just that glimpse in wanting to be a pet going to bring us into that synchronicity so beautifully. But before then, we would love to know, all of us would love to know how your accidental entrepreneurship began and how it all worked out perfectly.
I guess it started in Africa. And I might have to backpedal a little bit. So I was working a regular job in London. I say regular, it was for a startup. So some of you guys will be too young to remember that era of like the dot-com startups, but I was working for a media streaming company, and we were pulling together a technology to enable people to put video on the internet, which at the time was unheard of. I mean, that's crazy, right? So there was no YouTube, and it wasn't actually a technology that was available. And I remember when I first started working for that company, I was like, who would ever watch video on the internet? It's like we have TVs, right? So it was really small-minded of me. And our CEO of that business had this huge vision of what video was going to become. And so we were building out the infrastructure for this incredible piece of technology. And that I was doing all the marketing for them. So marketing was my background. And then just one evening I went out with my housemate and we bumped into a couple, and it was a really old friend of hers. The wife was a really old friend of hers, and they had like so much to catch up on. So they were chatting. And so I started talking to the husband, and he was looking for somebody to go and work in one of his camps in Zambia. And he was really struggling to find somebody. He needed somebody at short notice. It was an unpaid role. It was a very, very remote location with no communication. And he just couldn't find anybody to go. Well, I pretty much made a commitment to him then and there that I would go, and that I would leave in a few weeks' time. So the next day I went into work and I said to my CEO that I'd like to take a 6-month sabbatical. And as it happened, we were struggling to get our second round of finance in that business. So broadband hadn't yet been rolled out. And it was the infrastructure, like the national infrastructure was stifling the growth of this video opportunity on the internet. So it was really fortuitous. The timing was brilliant for him. He was very happy to let me go at short notice to kind of recover my salary for 6 months at least, for me to take a pause. And I booked on a flight the next week, and I went to Malawi because I wasn't needed in Zambia for 4 weeks. So I went to Malawi for 3 weeks, just traveled around, and then headed over to Zambia to start this new job. I had no idea about any of it. And it was literally through that chance encounter that I ended up running a safari lodge over there in a very remote area near the Congolese border. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. It was just the most beautiful, wild existence. I lived in a wooden hut on the edge of a muddy river. It's the most crocodile and hippo infested river in Africa. And to me, it was just stunningly beautiful. My poor mother didn't hear from me for 4 months after I arrived because there was no way to make a phone call other than to drive 3 hours to the nearest village, and very often the phone lines were down. So that's how I ended up in Zambia working. But what then led me into my online entrepreneurial space was because a couple came out very late in the season from America, and I was looking after them, and they were researching conservation projects in Zambia, around in the surrounding villages where I was based. And they asked me what I was going to do when the rains came. And where I was based on this riverbank, when the rains come, it changes the course of the river. So you have to pack up and leave. You can't stay there. So I was going to go home for a month and see my long-suffering mother, and then come back. That was my plan. But when they said to me, well, why don't you come and live with us in California for a couple of months, and you can help us set up these conservation projects, because it'd be really good to have somebody with, Zambian knowledge who's got connections over here, and we'll pay your airfare, we'll give you food and lodging, and we'll provide you with the car whilst you're there. It's an unpaid role, but come anyway. So I was like, yeah, why not? So I'll stop off and see my mum, and so that's what I did. And I was only going to go to California. I committed to 3 months, and I ended up there for a year because I realized that the projects that we were working on, so we were working on anti-poaching programs and educational programs primarily. So getting kids into school, really educating them about the value of their wildlife, and helping combat some of the fear around the wildlife that surrounded their villages, and anti-poaching patrols, which would put people out on patrol every day to try and help preserve the elephants and generally the wildlife. So those were the main projects that we were fundraising for. And there's people who we were networking with in California who were really keen to get involved in conservation projects in Zambia. And in fact, who wanted to go and visit some of these projects that they were contributing towards. So we started setting up tours specifically for people to visit the projects that they were funding, which was extraordinary. That was just so amazing. And And so that's how it came about. But whilst all that was happening, our website that had been built before I arrived in California was our biggest expense. So
Mm.
all the staff that we had within the organization were volunteers. None of us were paid anything. And I didn't have any overheads. So for me, that was fine. I was doing work that I absolutely loved doing. And then, but we realized that every time we made a change to our website, it was either taking a child out of school or it was taking a team off an anti-poaching patrol. And I sat with my CEO one day and I just said to her, it doesn't sit right. It's not right that people are paying us money to feed into these conservation projects and we're using it to pay our web design team. So how hard could this be? Could we not bring it in-house? Could we learn how to do it ourselves? And so there was no YouTube, there was no Google. So I had to go and buy some books and try to teach myself how to make changes to the website. And it was terrifying. I mean, I was struggling even with light switches in California. I had no idea, even like the waste disposal unit, like literally sent me into palpitations because it was so new and it felt so high tech. And so to make changes to our website, I felt like the sky was going to close in on me every time I made a change. But we did it and we persevered and we tinkered with the website. And then before I knew it, people were asking me to help them with their websites. So our PR agency asked me if I could do some work on theirs. One of our board of directors, who is a wildlife artist, she came and asked me if I could help her with hers. And I was just like, guys, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm literally like just pressing some buttons and hoping for the best. But what it did was it made me recognize that there was a real hunger for people to understand how to manage their own websites themselves. And this was 2002, I think. And so it was still kind of early days in people's website journeys. Websites were still a little bit of a novelty. And so to cut a long story short, I came back to the UK a year later. I married my husband, who was in the military, and I actually reached out to my old BBC network because I've been working for the BBC like quite a long time before, and asked them if any of them needed some marketing work doing because I just needed some money. I'd been like working as a volunteer, hadn't earned any money for over 2 years now, and so I had a couple of people reach out and say, yeah, we'd love to have you back on the team. So I started doing some freelance marketing work. And as part of that, I asked if I could build their websites to build up my portfolio, and I was going to do it for free. And that's just how it all kind of fell into place. It's like one project led to another project and it just snowballed from there. So none of that journey was planned. Like Zambia wasn't planned, California wasn't planned, setting up my business when I came back to the UK wasn't planned. It all just kind of happened. And I think that, I mean, there's a huge amount of synchronicity there. I mean, I don't know, Rosemary, how you would define synchronicity, but for me, it feels like it's unexpected opportunities that really present themselves to us, and often that align with a certain vision or goal. But for me, I didn't particularly have any vision or goal. I was just out there to have a good time and to kind of see where life was taking me. And I think that was really my key to things falling into place, was that I was open to the opportunities when they presented themselves. I've done a lot
Perfect.
of talking.
No,
I'll let you do
and
some talking now.
and that is synchronicity at its best. It's when we're open, it's when we're receptive, it's when we're not judgmental, is when we've not got this deep, how do I want to say it, desperate expectations for things to happen. So, because I met you through the power of synchronicity also, because I had a website that was ugly. You call it the ugly duckling or the sleeping beauty website. And I hated it. And I don't use the word hate for likely, I don't at all. And then I just said to myself, I need help to create my own beautiful website that actually brings clients to me. Because my website, I was so ashamed and embarrassed. And I was scrolling through and the social media. And whilst I was scrolling through, I clicked on one of my email messages outside of social media, and then Vicky Etherington, a fabulous article. I nearly had it word for word, now I've forgotten it. It was the punchline of how to create your beautiful website without the text issue, something like this. And I thought, yeah. And she goes, join my confident, what was it? Creation website, confident website creation challenge.
That's
Join it.
so
5 days free. And I went, what? Yes. So the first time I joined, I couldn't commit myself because there's so much stuff going on in my life. But the second time round, I committed myself and I was in heaven. No, I couldn't get enough of it because everything that she taught, I actually could do with ease. And then she had another program, Vicky had another program called Rock That Website. And I thought, yes, no matter, I didn't have any money. Mm-mm. And I just said to myself, I'm joining it. Few weeks later, the money came, the opportunity for me to do it. And now I'm creating websites for myself and my friends, and I love it. So, synchronicity looks all different types of ways. Um, but let me just get back to it because I just kind of like felt like telling everybody that. How do you, okay, because you've been doing your business for 20 years plus now.
yeah,
And I know that it had to have changed from where it started to where it is now.
yeah.
But I also feel that you as a person had to change to be able to come into that success that you're experiencing now. So if you can tell the people, how can synchronicity or unexpected opportunities be a source of inspiration and intuition for entrepreneurs? Do you get my question? Mm-hmm.
I do, and I'm going to answer it with a story if that's okay. So,
Yes.
um, so when I was first starting out, I had zero confidence in my ability as a web designer. I wasn't a graphic designer. And in fact, one of my very good friends, when I told her that I was building websites, she said, "How are you even doing that? You're not a graphic designer." And it really placed huge doubt in my mind. I was like, she's right. I'm not a graphic designer. I'm a marketer. So what gives me the right to be designing and building people's websites? And so I had a huge amount of imposter syndrome. And we had this little ritual with he was my boyfriend at the time. He's now my husband. Before we got married, we every Friday night we used to do a little date night where we would just literally drive wherever we felt like going, and we would just direct each other, go first left, second right, and see where we ended up. And then wherever we ended up, we would go and have a meal. So there was this one night very early in my entrepreneurial journey. We stopped at this amazing little gastro pub. It was called the White Horse, and it was in Lambourne Woodlands near Hungerford, kind of near the Swindon area. And we went in, and I remember the details of it so vividly because it was just such a special evening that we had there. We got there at 6:45 on a Friday evening. We arrived. We were welcomed beautifully by the people who owned the pub. And we asked if they had a table for two, and they could look really crestfallen. They were like, "We're sorry, we're fully booked." And I said, "It's okay. We'll go and have a drink at the bar, and then we'll go on our merry way and do our second left, first right kind of thing, and find somewhere that we can actually eat." And whilst we were sitting at the bar having a drink, the owner came up to us and said, "Do you know what? We hate to do this because we don't like rushing people, but we've got a table that we don't need until 7:45. So we could serve you, and if you can eat within the hour, you can have a table." We're like, "Cool, yeah, let's do it." So we sat down, we had a beautiful meal. It was gorgeous. We met the owners. It was a couple who owned it. And as we were leaving, as we were paying and leaving, I picked up one of their business cards and I said, "I just love your branding. It's so beautiful." And she said, "Yeah, we love it too. The only thing we're missing is a website." So I gave her my business card and I said, "Well, I can help you with that. So drop me a line and let's have a conversation." She got in touch. I built their website. And about a month after their website went live, she called me in for a meeting with her husband and his business partner. Now, what I didn't realize when I was working on their project was that her husband was managing a company that works specifically for licensed premises like clubs, pubs, hotels, restaurants. And he was managing about 300 of these premises, and a lot of them needed new websites. And he said, we'd like to make you our exclusive web designer. And it was that literally launched my website business, like in a heartbeat. So it was just a hugely fortuitous meeting. It was a hugely fortuitous arrangement. And so once that happened, I became hugely busy. I mean, it was just like my time was no longer my own. I just had projects coming at me, which sounds like an amazing thing to happen, and it was. But what it meant was that as a fledgling business with no business experience at all, I was suddenly inundated with work. I didn't have good time management skills. I was promising things that there was no way I could meet on deadline, which meant that I was working through the night some nights. I was getting up at 3 in the morning to hit some of those deadlines. My work-life balance was just wild. It was so out of sync. And so that instant kind of success was also a real curse.
Mm.
In so many ways, it was a blessing. And I look back on that and I'm so grateful that it happened. But what it did for me was it gave me a huge amount of confidence. It gave
Mm.
me a nice cash injection. And it meant that then I could start choosing the projects that I was starting to work on as well. So it really elevated me as a business owner. It meant that I had to take control of my schedule in a way that I hadn't before. And it also just gave me some income to play with, which actually meant that I was ultimately able to take on a business mentor who was able to coach me through the challenges that I was having of being overbooked. And that's when I started transitioning to course creation, so that I would start teaching people how to build their own websites rather than me building them for them. And that was a massive shift for me in terms of my own mindset, because I'd gone from thinking I can't build websites to then realizing I could, and then going to I can't teach people how to build websites. Like, I'm not a teacher. I'm just like, I'm starting from zero. So I went all the way back to that imposter syndrome scenario again, and felt a huge amount of hesitancy in marketing myself. But once I started doing the Confident Website Creation Challenge, that's when everything started to fit into place. And I had incredible people like Rosemary come onto some of those challenges and make me realize that what I was able to teach people, even for free, even if they couldn't afford to come on my course, or if they couldn't afford my web design services, that I was able to really, really help them. And even now, I haven't run those challenges for 18 months, but even now, when I still get messages from people saying, you started me off on my web design journey, building my own website, and it really kickstarted my entire business. So that's lovely to see. So in answer to your question, did I change as a person? Yes, there were huge shifts throughout the evolution of my business and throughout the evolution of my offerings as well. But all of them came about through synchronicity. All of them came about by chance. I would love to tell you that I'm the kind of person that plans everything out and executes things perfectly. I'm just not. It's like, I can't. Even when I try, I really would love to be that person who can visualize how things are going to look in 12 months' time. And I just can't. And I think that I started fighting against that for a while, because I would go to business planning workshops and I would see people mapping everything out for themselves, and I would wonder why I struggled with it, and I would fight against it for so long. And it wasn't until one of my business mentors said to me, why are you fighting against this? Why are you fighting to be something that you aren't?
Um,
Just embrace your impulsiveness and your spontaneity and just let your business run in the way that it's always run.
and that's the best way, in my view, of running a business. It's soul aligned, it's completely intuitive, it's the best risk chance taking, it's the opportunity of seeing over there, this is for me, it's come right for me, and I can do it. It's the opportunity of releasing all doubts. And the thing is, if we really contemplate, every one of us, absolutely nothing is really that planned out and crafted. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can plan and time time management stuff, but each and every opportunity that each and everyone has ever had, I'm gonna say it nearly 100% has never been by chance. I mean, it is all synchronized, but we just don't always see how, because we think that I'm going for this job offering and I've got this job and it looks kind of like linear, but how did you know that the job offering was going to be in the advert and promoted in the first place? And then you have the required skills to go and do it. What I love about Vicky's story is she naturally did things that she loved. That's the clue. How wild is that to be wanting to go into Africa in the middle of nowhere, in infested with crocodiles and whatever else, elephants and lions and flood terrain areas with no money, away from family and whatever. But she had this marketing skill. Little did she know that that was the voice of everything else. And then she said, I could do this. I love the story about in the bistro and how you and your husband played a game. And just by playing the game, brought you thousands of opportunities. It's amazing. One more question. I think you've kind of answered this, but at least ask it again. Has synchronicity helped you navigate any challenges or obstacles in your ventures, in your entrepreneurial journey?
Um, Not in a way that I can tangibly like say that this is what I applied and this is what helped, but I think it has. I think, we all hit roadblocks in our online business. We all hit moments where things aren't going quite as we wanted them to, and we'll hit business flunks, right? So we have moments where we completely dip and where we go, do you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I want a 9 to 5. I just want someone to pay me a salary and for everything to like go away. And I think that's really normal for people who are running their own business. And crikey, if anyone has never felt that way, then I think that you are an amazing entrepreneur, amazing business person. But I think at those times where I have hit lower points, there's been the way that I've come out of it is by just opening myself up to opportunities and going back to the things that I love doing. And so what you said, Rosemary, about how it all comes down to doing the stuff that we love. If we are trying too hard to do things that we see other people doing that are working for them, and so we try to replicate it in some way, that's when I find, for me, that's when I derail myself. And that's when I find that things don't start working as well. And that's when it starts sliding and I dip into one of those flunks where I'm like, why isn't this working? It's working for somebody else, but it's not working for me. And it might even be that it's a business mentor that has been teaching me that particular technique. And I haven't managed to really, I just haven't managed to make it work. And there's a frustration there and a feeling of failure. And so I think the way that I come out of that is I just take stuff back to basics, strip it right back and just start doing the stuff that I really love doing. And in fact, I remember being in one of those flunks about this time 2 years ago when I took part in my first coach-a-thon, which I know you know what that is, Rosemary, but it's coming up in October in about 10 days time. It's where coaches donate a day of their time and offer cut price one-to-one sessions, and all of the money that people pay for those sessions is paid to the Microloans Foundation for women in business to start up their businesses in sub-Saharan Africa. So it plays beautifully to my own values and the stuff that's important to me. But also what that does is it takes me back to the stuff that I love doing, which is connecting with people, helping them get their businesses online and helping them run a business that's going to be really successful. And so I do remember it was a couple of years ago when I was just like, things aren't as they should be in my business. I'm just not feeling the love for it anymore. And it just so happened that the very next day was the coach-a-thon, and I was back to back with one-to-one calls for people that had booked, and they were happy because they booked a session that costs a lot less than it would normally cost to come and have one of those sessions with me, but also because they know that every penny of what they have spent on that session is going directly to fund a loan for a woman to start a business, and people feel good about that. But what that back-to-back day did for me was it totally re-energized me. And it was like, why am I trying to do stuff that just doesn't feel good anymore? I just need to be doing more of this, like getting in front of people and just helping them with getting their businesses online. So I think that's a long way of me saying, has synchronicity ever helped in terms of, overcome any challenges? I don't know that it has directly, but I think if you kind of trust that things are going to happen and you trust things to chance, often they will just fall into place.
These, she's an expert. Vicky's an expert. That's exactly what it is. It's a trust. And I would argue and say, yeah, it did help you because what it ultimately did was put you back into alignment straight.
Yeah.
And as it put you back into alignment, one of the things that I love about you is when you go on your walks. Synchronicity is not just the things that actually happen outside of you towards you. Synchronicity is spots of inspiration that just drop into your consciousness as you're doing walks with your lovely Ruby outside in the forest, in the woodland, which I love so much. Oh, while she's jogging on these flipping marathons every single day.
Not quite. Oh,
But
Rosemary, you would have loved our walk this morning. We turned a corner and there was a massive heron just standing in our path. It was pouring with rain. I was like, it's not that wet. It was just standing there in our path and it flew off. And that kind of thing just lights me up. I love
yes,
seeing that.
and because of that, your energy is elevated and activated, and it is that what the universe then responds to. It doesn't, it's not that the universe don't respond to our words or thoughts, yeah, but mostly it's our vibration. And our vibration is key to everything successful in our life. Okay, so I just wanted to have a little bit of a talk about the power of synchronization. So, one of the biggest challenges that many of us as entrepreneurs have is the bridging the gap between our intentions and our desires and how to bring it into physical reality. But you see, we often rely on like our current circumstances, like who we are being in that moment, as the evidence of what's actually possible. And somehow that traps us into some like a vicious loop because if we want to do something that we've never done before or be something that we've never done before, it's you cannot actually do it in the same mindset that you are currently in. So what could be a great way of transforming our reality? Let me just say, our reality is based upon our own psychological perception of life, not his, not hers, not his, not hers, but our own. And we get that through our thoughts and our feelings and our experiences from childhood coming up. So let's fast track. But when we look at what have I actually got that can actually I can use as my superpower, we forget that we've got imagination. We don't even realize the power of imagination. I mean, I've got this big head filled with lots of information. And how can I best get this into reality? Okay, if we focus on the power of an imagined reality, so it's like you're getting yourself into a state of relaxation, however means. Could be swimming, could be singing, could be watching, whatever it is, you're in a deep sense of relaxation. And then you tap in and begin to visualize, literally envision your desire as if you've already got it. You might hear a lot of people talk about this, but it's only through the experience can you actually realize this potentiality, right? So chat is one thing, but doing it is the other. But when we realize, when we envision our reality, but here's the key. But when we bring the emotion, because the emotion is the energy in motion, when we bring the emotion of that experience, that preferred, desired experience, along with the imagination, when we bring that with us, what we're actually doing is putting a seed in our subconsciousness of what we actually want more of without actually wanting anything or being in a needy. Let me say it again. So we're actually doing it as we've got it. We imagine ourselves as we're already it. We've eliminated neediness. We've eliminated desperation and all that. We're just in that joyful state of, like a child who is just becoming like aware of the world around, and she or he is in this awesome delight of all of this learning. It's like that kind of energy. Okay, so what we think and what we feel and what we do is ultimately key in synchronicity in absolutely anything. Sometimes this can be a challenge though, because some of us are in our 40s and 50s, so kind of like hardwired certain habits in our psychology. It's kind of like, how do we have this attention span so that we can also use our imagination and focus? I have another trick. Well, actually, it's just another formula. So now we can harness the power of synchronicity. Um, there's so many definitions of synchronicity, and I don't think that there is just one, because synchronicity is an infinite of occurrences. But let's just try. It's kind of like simultaneous occurrences of events and people and things that seem related, but maybe have no actual causal relatedness, like what Vicky was saying. She never imagined herself doing this. She never she never did. But somehow it just dropped into her consciousness because she'd opened her awareness to the possibility of, what can I be doing in my life other than being in the crocodile infested waters area. And then because she studied marketing and embraced that, because she was able to listen and look out for the opportunities and see a beautiful um, business card and get rid of the imposter syndrome, there she lands herself. So um, the joy of synchronicity is synchronicity follows your intention. You hear me, people?
Yeah.
So if we are having powerful, positive intentions and then envisioning it literally as if it's already here, bringing the vibration of that joy because you already have it, then you let it go. And then you start listening and learning outside of you in this kind of joyful anticipation because it's going to come. And it comes in the form of people, circumstances, inspiration, things, you name it. So it's just a way of opening and trusting that the universe will provide it all to us, as Vicky said. And the way how the universe is going to respond, just like I said, is through people, through circumstances. Sometimes we don't realize that very hardship, that very challenge that our parents had an intention for our life that synchronized in our life through their intention, all of that joyful success that we had in Africa, like when you was there. Sometimes it's so, I hope I'm being a little bit clear of synchronicity. When you intentionally focus on seeking out the synchronicities, that's when the synchronicities come to you because it knows you're looking for it. Synchronicities helps you to reduce the resistance. So that's how it can help with that habitual way of being. It reduces your resistance. By focusing on synchronicities, you're less likely to resist being in the flow of whatever it is that you want to bring into your life. Building trust. Sometimes we have such low self-esteem, and that low self-esteem is not even based on the truth of who we really are, But one way of improving that is having an intention, whether how small it be, and then looking outwards and inwards for that match. How can you have such a low self-esteem when you're eventually seeing all of your dreams right in front of you manifested? It's gonna be, now are you afraid to take that opportunity? That will be the next stage to cross. Okay, synchronicity can start creating bridges. It can act as stepping stones to all of the other things that's going to occur in your life. So even if you don't know the final outcome, you'll be walking down a particular path and you don't know what direction to turn because it's like a crossroad. And there comes somebody from the left and says, would you like blah, blah, blah to experience this? Ah, let me go this way. That's another way, synchronicity. So applying synchronicity in business, for me, it can be like, instead of focusing on what's not working, as Vicky says, go back to what you love. Allow your energy to settle down. And because of that, all of those insights will start percolating through your consciousness. Or people will come to you and say, I'm looking for such and such and such. And you're the actual one who can deliver that prize. So it can lead to increased confidence when we just settle down, relax, and start doing the things that we enjoy doing on an everyday basis. Um, but paying attention to synchronicity, or should I say, paying attention to the opportunities that's outside of yourself because you are the synchronicity. That's the key. You, in fact, you incarnated here from a synchronized cosmic dance of mummy and daddy and the divine intelligence. And here we are. Okay, so let me just look at the clock just for a few seconds, just so that this can be a little bit interactive. See if you can write down 5 things that happen synchronistically in your business. Go. A few seconds. Let's go. And you could just let me know when you're there. You ready? You just received just what you needed at the right time, whatever it is. This is just an exercise in reflection so that when we remember how powerful we are, that also improves our self-worth. Anybody want to share their 5 things? Please. Have fun. Amanda?
So, hi Vicky, thank you for being here. This has just been fascinating, and I feel like you've had a window into my little life with a lot of the things you said, and you as well, Rose. So, my 5 things. Um, had an idea about body butters, and the second thing that happened was my partner had a skin complaint and asked me if I could make said body butter, and did, and then decided, and then had a conversation with Rosie actually about websites, and actually bought a website, and didn't work out. And just as I was panicking about what to do, Rosie is now was learning to build websites, and the um, the next thing that happened was the samples. Is that 4 so far? Because I think I've got 4. That's 4 samples and orders. And now I'm at the point where soon to launch a website, and the synchronicity of it all is it brings us right back to here and being in introduced to you, Vicky, because you was kind of where it started for me and my website and business.
Exactly. If it wasn't for Vicky, I wouldn't be sitting here and creating other people's websites through Vicky's skills and knowledge and excellent teaching. I wonder, hello, Martine. Lovely to see you here. I wonder if you could share your five. If you can, it'd be great. Not to worry, just in case you're not able to. Vicky, did you come up with another five? I mean, you've been speaking, so you've done lots.
I didn't come up with another five, but I jotted some there. So one that's really fresh in my mind is one of my previous clients got in touch with me early last year and said there's a group going out to Africa to run workshops for women over there, and would you be interested? And that was it. I was booked on within days, and in fact, the reason why it's fresh in my mind is because this weekend I was away in the New Forest with those people that I was traveling in Malawi with last year. It was exactly a year ago that we were actually over there. So that was a completely serendipitous connection. That she made an introduction to someone that was planning to take a group out there, and so that's how it came about. That was, for
Wow.
me, that was beautiful synchronicity.
Wow. And what was amazing, I remember back last year how you was expressing that this has been a long, long dream of yours to be able to go back to Africa and to contribute in such powerful ways. And the way how that actually came about again was also through synchronized networking. It's just fascinating hearing that particular story one day. Um,
It's so true. If I can just pick up on that, because I had a completely different vision for how I wanted that to happen. I thought that my contribution to helping girls in education over there and conservation projects would be through donation. I wanted to go out and do some kind of be boots on the ground, but like because of my home situation, it just wasn't practical. But so I had been for the last year, I had been looking for organizations that I could fund to do their own projects over there. So, and I couldn't find anyone that I wanted to work with. And in fact, people that I did find I wanted to work with were really unresponsive to it. So there was a reason something was blocking that whole vision that I was trying to, and I was getting frustrated with it. And so when that opportunity presented itself to me, it was just suddenly like, why did I not think of that? Why did I
mm,
not think of pursuing that as an avenue for me to really fulfill this dream that I've been wanting to do for such a long time? So yeah, I think though when opportunities present themselves in a way that you're not expecting, sometimes we shut them down. Whereas actually that might have been what we were looking for all along.
exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. When you're envisioning something, you're envisioning it as it's actually occurring. It doesn't mean to say it's going to occur in the exact same way that you envision it. What's actually happening is you're priming your body, mind, and soul to get into alignment. That's what you're doing. And then through that vibration, you something will come to you that's exactly what you need to explore, embrace, and to grow through. It might match what you envision, but invariably it's something completely different and even better than what we can sometimes come up with in ourselves. So just really quick recap on aligning with synchronicity. A big thing for me is intention setting, but um I think I just want to say is joy, joy, joy. Allowing yourself to experience joy. Sometimes that means you have to recognize that you're not joyful. When you recognize that you're not joyful, automatically you can choose to be in joy. If you cannot get to joy, acceptance. However, intention setting, that's the seeds of all creation. When we set that intention, the thing that is beautiful about intention is we only have to do it one time. And when we generate that kind of emotionality, that excitement, you know, can you imagine we can generate such anger towards a thing and that thing manifests. Why don't we just flip the script and have the joy? Because we know we are creative, because we created all this madness. Now we can create all this gladness, this joyfulness, because we're really creative. So when we're setting our intention, we're embedding it with joy or acceptance or love or curiosity. And then we just let that go. We don't obsess about it. We don't care when it's going to happen, because we're impressing that into our divine consciousness that's inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves. And then we just become open. And all of these things Vicky already mentioned. We just become open. We just drop all of the judgment and the perceive monkey mind and imposter thing. We notice them when they come up, and then we go, you're trying to get me again, get out of it, you know. And then you go and do something fun, like go on a marathon or go swimming or go hug up a tree or something, or run down the lane with your dog in the rain and make the rain and the dog wet you completely till you laugh your head off with joy, or just become quietness. Trust. You're here. You're not here for chance. Trust. Look at me. Everything's provided for us. Yes, we've invented money so that we can buy things, but let's just draw aside money for a minute. Water was given to us for our upkeep. The air is given for us for our upkeep. The trees, the plants, the food. We don't have to do anything. It's all there for us. How much more examples do we need to be able to trust that everything will come to us? We even get breast milk from our mum for our food when we're babies. Wow, everything is abundantly provided for us. Gratitude. I'm not talking about just saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. No, anybody can speak that. Having this internal appreciation for all of the things that's in our life, and not feeling guilt just because you have and maybe somebody don't have, this internal gratitude, because it is the way it is because who you are and how you're going to utilize those beautiful gifts to serve and help others. Oh, that's powerful meditation. And also meditation and mindfulness can help you to align to synchronicity. But I'm not just talking about sitting down and going, no. Every single thing that we are doing, we're always in a meditative state. We just don't look at it like that. But we're being present in that moment with everything. Some people say multitasking. I can't multitask for the life of me. Mine is just one thing at a time. I have tried multitasking and I burnt out, completely exhausted myself. I know, Vicky, you can say something about that, or I know you've had experience completely burnt out. Okay. And then coming into alignment, coming into balance, coming into connection is what you will experience through looking for all these beautiful synchronicity, because you'll be wowed. Life will wow you. It will become more magical. Now, just to finish off this point is sometimes we're not even aware of what synchronicity can look like. Synchronicity can come as a warning or alerts. We've all have those feelings. I've had a situation where I dreamt that I was not to go on a particular journey, on a particular bus ride, but I was actually in the area where I was supposed to be. And I remembered that dream. In that moment, I did not go on that bus ride. The following day, on the news, I heard that the bus had crashed and many people had lost their life. Wow. So synchronicity can come in a variety of ways. And it's amazing if we pay attention to our intuition, which is the next thing about intuition. Synchronicity. Synchronicity, our intention. From intention, now be intuitive of how things are coming to you. Great. Another thing to look out is for confirmation synchronicity. We're used to that. Somebody seems to confirm us every single time when we ask the question, am I in the right direction? Open your eyes and look. it will be confirmed through what people say, the music, something on the TV, something in nature. You will get your confirmation. We know this. None of this is new to us, but we're just not always focused in that joyful, magical, look what's going on out, like that. Prophetic synchronicity. I get a lot of that because as my that's another subject, but as a seer, I see things before they happen. So there's a lot of prophetic synchronicity that occurs that can help you in your life. Then you get manifestation as a form of synchronicity. I wanted a website. Not even a week came by. I met Vicky. Vicky said to me, why don't I do this? 2 days later, I created a website, I created everything, and I started Assistant Rose. Within a week, I had 3 or 4 clients, just magic. I manifested it in my mind, Vicky manifested it in our minds, and then I took the inspired action and I improved my life. Then also, we can look out for opportunities of synchronism and collective synchronism. That's when many people at the same time have the same kind of vibes. Opportunity is anything that's coming your way as a form of opportunity that is aligned with your values and your love. That's synchronicity. You can have synchronicity through your dreamings, your visions. The list goes on. But I'm hoping that I was able to cover synchronicity today, empower you to look into your synchronistic world. And I hope you enjoyed Vicky's synchronized accident entrepreneurship story and how it worked out perfectly. And I want to add to everyone who's here listening, Vicky is my superstar. She's my mentor. She's my role model. She's my hero. I love this woman. Thank you. There you are, Martine. Did you want to share anything? I love to hear your voice.
I've been listening, very interested in Vicky's story, and share many of early formative years with you, actually, Vicky. My father was an engineer. He worked out in Nigeria. We lived all over the world. I wanted to be a vet. I'm just a little behind you in terms of my own entrepreneurship journey, but I'm inspired by today. So thank you, Rosemary. Thank you.
Oh, it's so lovely to hear your voice. And Vicky, again, I'm bowing before you again because I'm enjoying that you agreed to come on my 3rd podcast show. I hoped everybody enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Amanda and Martine. It's lovely to see you here.
Thank you. So you can reach out to Vicky. She's the website mentor. If you just type that into Google, it will just come up. And I'm Rosemary Roberts, Goody Moves, movingmeditation.com. Just type goodymoves.com and that will also come up. But I'm also on LinkedIn or Facebook if anybody would like to connect and go deeper into your own personal synchronistic journey. I'm really big on helping people to embrace their energy, their inner life force, and open their intuitive awareness, help them to understand how to do it, and also transforming the energy in your body through particular movements. And I'm going for a real life journey of that, so I know that that works. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. And we speak again soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you so much. This has been just delicious. Vicky, you're a legend. And Martine, thank you for being here too. We're all legends. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.